Hello students, welcome to the lectures on microcontroller and embedded systems. So in the previous videos, we discussed about the different topics of module 3 and module 4 of microcontroller and embedded systems. Today, we will be discussing about module 5, that is a real-time operating system. The chapter within this is a real-time operating system based embedded system design. Now, moving to the basics of operating system. Already you have learned in operating system as a different subject, you have learned the different operating systems also, right? So, what is this operating system? It is a system software that makes the computer hardware to function and makes it useful to the user. This operating system acts as a bridge between the applications of the user and the resources of the system. That is, user, in order to run different applications, he will be making use of resources. It acts as, now operating system acts as a bridge between the user who is running an application and whatever he wants to use to run that application, that is the resources. That's why it acts as a bridge between the applications of the user and resources of the system. So you can look at different functions are listed. Functions of the operating system. It makes the system convenient to use. That is, user can easily access the system. Operating system organizes and manages the resources of the system efficiently and correctly. Okay, so these are the main things what an operating system is doing. Now, see, here is the architecture of the operating system. You can look at architecture mainly includes the kernel service, right? You can look at in the figure, you can look at. This is the operating system architecture. It contains the kernel services. So, what is this kernel? Kernel is nothing but the core of an operating system. It acts as the abstraction layer between the system resources and the applications. It contains different services. Here in the slide you can look at, it contains different services. What all are the services? Memory management, process management, time management, file system management, IO system management, etc. Isn't it? So now we have to discuss about these different services which are provided by the kernel. Moving to the process management. Primary memory management. See, file system management. All these are different services. Now we move to process management. It's nothing but managing the processes. The name itself is telling managing of the processes is nothing but process management. What is this then? Managing includes setting the memory to the process. See, I want to execute something, a task which is under execution is nothing but a process, right? So, in order to execute the task or a program, I need to save this program in a memory. That's why setting memory to the process, that is one of the primary aim of the management of the process. Then this program or the process has to be loaded. The code of the process has to be loaded. That is one of the management. Okay. Then allocating the resources which are required by the process for execution. This is one more function of the process management. Then managing the process control block. Okay, everything related to the process is stored in process control block, right? So managing this process control block is also one of the function which comes under process management. And communication between the processes. If I have different tasks or different things which are executed, I need to have communication established between them. So this has to be managed properly. So all this is included within process management. What all? It includes giving the memory to the process, loading the code, allocating the resources which are required by the process for execution, then managing the process control block, then providing communication between the processes. All this comes under process management. Next is primary memory management. this is nothing but memory management. What is primary memory? It's nothing but RAM, right? So management of this RAM is nothing but primary memory management. So memory management unit is used in order to manage. What is memory management unit? Already in computer organization we learnt of memory management unit, that is MMU, isn't it? So MMU is responsible for keeping track of current used memory locations. It is responsible for allocating is nothing but what? Providing memory space to the processes. And deallocating, that means if the process execution is over, if it's no more required to be stored in the memory, it will be deallocated, that is it is removed from. So thus memory management is done by MMU. So this is about memory management. Next, what? File system management. Kernel is responsible for creating the file, deleting the file, altering the contents of the file, saving the contents, allocating space to the files, moving or naming the file, etc. Not only file, it may be directory also, right? Directory, again creating, deleting, altering, giving space, naming the directory, everything. All this comes under what? Yes, file system management. Next is about IO system management. Name itself is telling managing the different input and output devices. This is device management. What is it? Device management. Kernel is responsible for routing the input output requests which come from different users to appropriate IO devices. See, whenever any of the user is executing any of the tasks, he need the input and output. So in order to input, we need input devices. In order to output, we need output devices. So he may be requesting input output devices, right? So management of this is done by input output system management. Kernel is responsible for providing access to these input output devices by using device manager. So device manager of the kernel is handling the IO devices. It is responsible for loading and unloading the device drivers. We know already in the computer organization subject, each of the input and output devices are having device drivers, right? So loading and unloading the device drivers is the responsibility of the kernel. Exchanging the information between the devices, etc. All these come under input output system management. Thus kernel is managing the input and output devices. Next, secondary storage management. See, kernel deals with disk storage allocation, disk scheduling, disk space management, etc. So all secondary storage management. Secondary storage is nothing but disk, right? So secondary storage allocation, scheduling and managing the space within the disk. Maybe program stored within a disk, at what space it has to be stored, which is the empty location within the disk. Everything is managed by this kernel, right? Next is about protection. Why we need protection? In order to provide orderly access or in order to provide an authenticated access, right? So protection is restricting the access of the system resources by different processes or users. Some users or applications may be given permission to access some of the resources, and some resources may not be provided to some users or the applications. So depending on the authentication, that is whether user is allowed or application is allowed to access the resource or not, depending on that, permission will be granted for accessing the resources. This is nothing but providing protection to the resources, that is providing restriction to the access of the resources. Then is interrupt handler. This is one more important service of the kernel. Kernel provides different mechanisms for internal or external interrupts. Interrupts may be internal within the system while execution of the program is going on, or interrupt may be from different input and output devices which are connected, right? So different mechanisms are there for managing these interrupts. So this is all about different services which are provided by the kernel, isn't it? Next is Kernel is divided into different types. See, types of operating system you can look at. It is divided into general purpose operating system and real time operating system. See, what is general purpose operating system? Operating system which is used for general computing is nothing but general purpose operating system. The kernel of such operating system is generalized and provide different services which are required for executing general applications. These type of operating systems are used in systems where deterministic behavior is not important, means it's not time constraint, it is not of time constraint. Okay, then what is real time operating system? Real time means deterministic timing behavior, which means the operations or applications will be running at a particular timing and will be finishing at a particular time. So time is a main constraint which is given a most importance in a real time. So if deterministic timing behavior is there for an operating system, then it can be categorized as real time operating system. If no deterministic behavior, then it is general purpose operating system. And one more thing is, it is used for general computing. Then here the operating system decides which application should run in which. In real time operating systems, the operating system will be deciding which application will run at what time and for how much time. That is, time is allocated for each application and also the order of execution. The kernel of the real time operating system is a real time kernel. The kernel name itself is given as a real time kernel. Okay, so it provides different basic functions as, see, you can look at in the slide: task or process management, task or process scheduling, synchronization, error handling, memory management, interrupt handling, time management, etc. Okay, so in task or process management, it deals with setting space for task, loading the code of different tasks, allocating resources for execution of the task or the process, setting up task control block, etc. Everything comes under management of task or the process. What is this task control block? Task control block is a block in the memory which holds every information regarding the task. Okay, so it contains what all? It contains task ID, state of the task, type of the task. Okay, then where was I? Yes, what all TSB includes. So TCB includes task ID, state, type of the task, priority assigned for that task, pointers for the task, etc. So task management creates the TCB. Who will be creating this TCB? Task management. Okay, task or process management is creating the TCB. It is deleting or removing the PCB, reading the content from the TCB, updating it, everything. So everything related to a task and TCB is managed. Okay, then is task or process scheduling of these tasks. Who is doing the scheduling? A scheduler is necessary. A scheduler will be there which handles scheduling of the tasks, so that sharing of the CPU will be done among different tasks. What is the scheduler then? It is nothing but an algorithm which performs efficient scheduling of the task. So this is about scheduling of task or process. Next is task or process synchronization. We all know that different resources are shared by different tasks. So we are computing different tasks, and all these tasks are in need of the resources, and many of the resources may be shared by different tasks. Hence, synchronization of concurrent access of the resource is to be done, and that is done by task or process synchronization. Okay, the kernel will be doing this in real time operating system. Next is about error or exception handling. We know that different types of errors or exceptions occur during execution of the tasks. What type of errors? Error may be due to insufficient memory, it may be deadlock, it may be bus error, it may be divide by zero error, etc. So real-time operating system have to deal with all such errors or exceptions, and real-time operating system is doing it by using watchdog concept, wherein particular time will be set and this timer will go on decrementing whenever a task is under execution. If at all any of the error has occurred, okay, it will come out of that task and provides an error to the processor. Okay. Next, moving to memory management. General purpose operating system generally make use of dynamic memory allocation techniques. What happens here? Time of allocation will increase with the increase in the size or state of the block to be allocated. Hence, effective memory allocation is necessary, and that is achieved in real-time operating systems. How? Because real-time operating systems make use of memory allocation techniques as block-based. That means it is using block-based memory allocation technique. Blocks of a fixed size will be allocated on the need basis. Blocks are stored in different free buffer queue. We will be having some queue within which all blocks are free. All of those are saved, and depending on whenever a need for a block is necessary to a needed task, it will be allocated from the queue and it will be removed from the queue. To avoid timing overhead, the real-time operating system kernel allows tasks to access any block without protection. Thus, it is making use of efficient utilization of the time. Some real-time operating systems implement virtual memory also. This block-based memory allocation achieves deterministic behavior and facilitate efficient memory usage. Next thing is about interrupt handling, right? We discussed about memory management. Next we move to interrupt handling. Whenever any external device need attention of the CPU, it informs the processor by raising an interrupt. We all know this concept of interrupt when an interrupt is provided to the processor, right? So interrupts can be synchronous or they may be asynchronous. If interrupts occur in synchronous with currently executing task, then it is synchronous interrupt. Examples for synchronous interrupts are divide by zero error, memory segmentation error, etc. Asynchronous interrupts are those interrupts which occur at any point of execution, and these are not synchronous with currently executing tasks. Examples are examples for asynchronous interrupts are external devices which are providing interrupts. Any of the interrupt which is generated by an external device is named as example for asynchronous interrupt. So RTOS provides priority for these different types of interrupts, and depending on the priority it will be giving a task which is executed. Assume I am having two different interrupts, interrupt A and interrupt B. If A is having high priority and B is having low priority, and if A and B both at a time generate an interrupt, then A will be first executed because it is having high priority. Okay, so RTOS implements nested interrupt. That means if at all, assume A and B, the same example, A with high priority and B with low priority, right? So if B is under execution and immediately during the execution of B, if A needs the CPU, then it raises an interrupt. So A will be provided a chance by removing B, that is by holding B. That means preemption of interrupt service routine will be done. What is this preemption? B will be preempted and option is given for A because it is having high priority interrupt. That is there in RTOS. Next is time management. Time management is a most essential function of real-time operating system. That's why it's named as real-time, right? So it is necessary to provide precise time for all applications. The kernel is provided by high-resolution read-time clock chip. Timer tick is the timer interrupt which interrupts at fixed rate. This timer tick perform saving of current context, increment system time, update the timers, activate the tasks. Periodically it will be activating the task, schedule the task, delete the terminated task, etc. So this is all about real-time operating system. Now about the categories in the real-time operating system, you can look at, you are having two different categories within real-time operating system. One is hard real-time and the other is soft real-time. Hard real-time, the real-time operating system that adhere to the timing constraints for a task are hard real-time, and those operating systems that does not guarantee the timing constraint or deadlines are soft real-times. Hard real-times need the deadlines for the task. They meet the deadlines for the task. That means the task will be executed within that particular amount of time which is given to it. That's why it is hard real-time. But what happens in soft real-time? Deadline is not there for any of the task and the timing will not be a constraint there. Okay, that means somewhat flexibility is allowed. So that is soft real-time. In hard real-time, a late answer is a wrong answer. But in soft real-time, a late answer is acceptable answer, but it could have done bit faster. Means it is acceptable. Even though you have done it late, it is acceptable, but it could have done faster. That is the thing which can explain hard and soft real times. Example for hard real time is airbag control system, anti-lock brake system, etc. Different examples for soft real time are automatic teller machine, audio video playback system, etc. So this is all about the basics of operating systems and different types and services provided by operating system kernel. So in the next video, we'll be discussing about tasks, processes and threads, the rest of the concepts of module 5. Thank you.